Just look at him. So sleek, so powerful, so beautiful. Like some great golden god made flesh.
My aim is to make something that's so dramatically compelling that within 5 minutes you forget you're watching a cartoon and it's just as if you're watching another movie. I'm trying to get the audience to feel an emotional response. There are certain places in this movie that I guarantee people will cry. They're going to be watching it and just, have to break out the Kleenex. And at the same time to, have a roller coaster action adventure film.
One of the things we're trying to do in our direct-to-video projects is to find things that can be a real synthesis of media.
Strong.
To bring together situations where great animation talent and great comic book talent can focus in on special moments in the DC mythology that already have resonance for people. I don't think comics are any different from any form of literature or art for exploring what's important in society.
The fact that the source material comes from comics themselves and that they stay loyal and true to that source material helps strengthen what we do in the full sense of that we're creating long-term fiction, and the fact that that fiction now is adapted in other forms show the strengths of our writers and our direction for the characters. And I think what's exciting for our fans is that they're emotionally attached to the comics.
Death of Superman, was the biggest selling comic of all time, remains the best-selling comic book of all time. With the most iconic character.
When the news leaked out, didn't originally come from a press release, but a Miami Herald writer who was a comics fan had become aware of it from some of the material that was floating around and broke the story. And the world decided it cared, which was quite a thrill ride for us.
There is only a few ways to get in the newspaper, and killing somebody is a way to do it. And luckily we killed a drawing. The fact that the whole world was watching helped make the story better in the long run, and we really felt like now that everybody's watching, we better pay off big.
Working with DC Comics, Bruce Timm and Dwayne Capizzi together created an atmosphere of a really creative ensemble.
Bruce Timm has probably done more to create an awareness of DC characters over the last 10, 15 years than anyone.
Well, initially Bruce and I were really uncertain that doing an adaptation of Death of Superman was a wise thing to do, because again, how do you fit it all into 70 minutes? I mean, the published trade paperbacks are like multiple phone book size. It's just a huge story.
Because it's not just the death of Superman, it's the death of Superman, a world without Superman, and the return of Superman.
The scope of the story is so rich, and so it's a huge arc that played out over the course of 2 years, that it really allowed us to find some of the best themes and best pieces to pull out from it and allow Bruce Timm and Dwayne Capizzi to create something brand new.
Well, the first thing that we did when we decided we were going to go ahead and do this is Dwayne and I both actually sat down and reread the comic. What are the main parts of the story that we need to focus on to make it, a true version of the story?
As exciting as the Doomsday Superman sequence is, I think in some ways I was even more challenged and more interested by how we would do the World Without Superman segment. And we were actually encouraged by DC to really take our time with it and really get into the grief of these characters.
We've never really explored the relationship, certainly in the comics, or at least not very deeply, between Lois and Martha. And so the opportunity to sort of take this moment after Superman's demise and explore what this means emotionally to these two women, one who's lost a son and the other who's lost the love of her life.
Yes? Mrs. Kent? I'm Lois Lane.
And have them come together not only in grief, but hopefully in healing. I think it's a wonderful moment to have that opportunity to explore You know, especially to do it in animation, especially to do it for the core fans. I think those are the kinds of things that we put in there that the fans will appreciate.
One thing this movie does, as the original comic book did, is sort of define others by Superman's absence. You know, Superman, even though he's missing from a portion of the movie, his absence is so palpable.
Last year for Halloween, I dressed like Superman. Now I'm gonna do it every year for the rest of my life.
But I think just as important as what we decided to leave out from the books is what Bruce and I decided to put back in. Primarily Lex Luthor. He's darker and definitely more evil than he's been seen in the original animated series. We see him as a very damaged individual. Also, more importantly, he also grieves, and I think that's one of the most important things about the movie is we get to see Lex Luthor sort of in a state of existential loss.
What he really misses is an antagonist. What he really misses is that obstacle of Superman.
Why did you leave me? Why? We had so much unfinished business.